I read an article that the greatest wealth transfer is happening in America right now. Right now, if you go to the grocery store, costs are at an all-time high right now. And the issue is that multiple generations, so you have Gen Xers and you have the generation before Gen Xers, which are the baby boomers, they've never seen anything like this before, ever. And so you wonder why it's hard to buy a home these days as a Gen Z. Well, here's some facts for you. The fact is that we're living in the most expensive generation that there's ever been, Gen Z. And millennials are complaining that, saying, hey, I can't buy a home right now because wages aren't going up. Let's talk about some eye-opening facts. The average rent today is around $1,850 per month, but depending on the city, that number can be much higher. Add to that fact that healthcare costs are averaging about $500 per person per month. College tuition has increased by a staggering 177% since the 1970s. And the housing prices? They've risen over 1,000% in the same time frame. Now, for the average American family, these rising costs are a huge burden, especially since wages haven't kept up with inflation. The reality is many families are struggling to cover these basic expenses, and they're left questioning on how they can keep up. If your income isn't growing at the same rate as these costs, what are you doing to make sure you're financially secure and prepared for the future? Are you relying on the same old strategies, or is it time to rethink how you're building your wealth? So how did we get here today? Most people don't realize the problems we're facing today actually started way before now. Let's rewind back to the early 2000s. After the dot-com crash in 2000 and the shock of 9/11, the U.S. economy was hurting. The Federal Reserve decided to slash interest rates to almost zero to stimulate growth. Borrowing money got insanely cheap. Mortgages, credit cards, you name it. And with that cheap money, banks started handing out home loans to almost anyone, even people with bad credit. If you could fog a mirror, you could get a mortgage, they called it subprime lending. On top of that, Wall Street found a way to make billions off these risky loans. They bundled them into investments, slapped safe labels on them, and sold them around the world. Greed took over. Nobody asked, can these people actually pay these loans back? It was all about flipping paper and making a quick buck. Between 2002 and 2006, home prices went through the roof. Everyone thought buying a house was a guaranteed way to get rich. People were flipping houses, lying on mortgage applications, taking loans they couldn't afford, and banks didn't care. They just kept feeding the machine. But under the surface, the whole system was cracking.
Wow. Honey, can you start now?
Those adjustable rate mortgages that seemed cheap at first? Suddenly people's monthly payments doubled, even tripled. They couldn't pay. Foreclosures exploded, home prices collapsed, and banks that were too exposed to bad loans started failing. Big names like Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers disappeared almost overnight. The stock market crashed. Millions of people lost their jobs, their savings, their homes. That was the 2008 financial crisis. To save the system, the government and the Fed stepped in. They bailed out the big banks and started printing money like crazy. They dropped interest rates to zero and kept them there for over a decade. They called it quantitative easing, a fancy word for flooding the economy with money. And for a while, it worked on the surface. Stocks boomed, real estate recovered. The rich got richer, but everyday people, they stayed stuck. Wages barely moved. Meanwhile, the cost of living, housing, healthcare, education kept climbing higher and higher. Then COVID hit in 2020. The government printed even more money, trillions in stimulus, and interest rates back to zero. We saw crazy bubbles everywhere. Stocks, real estate, crypto, all exploding. But when too much money chases too few goods, what happens? Inflation. And that's exactly what we got. By 2021, prices for everything were out of control. Groceries, gas, rent, cars, healthcare, you name it. Wages didn't keep up. Families started falling behind fast. where we are now. The Fed is trying to fix inflation by raising interest rates, but higher rates mean higher mortgage payments, higher car loans, higher credit card bills. People are drowning in debt again. But this time, it's not just homes. It's credit cards, student loans, car payments, medical debt. And just like before '08, the cracks are starting to show. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you got a lot of value in this video. And if you did, make sure to hit subscribe and make sure to hit the like button. And just so you know, if you're curious about, hey Chris, like what do you do? I've been in the insurance and financial industry going on 8 years now, and I've done some incredible things. I've seen some incredible things. I've seen people really go make a difference. Now, just so you know, not all results are typical, just like anything that you get into. But if you're curious on that, I've left a link in this description where you can learn more about what I do in the insurance and financial industry. And so we'll see you next time, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care.